Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to the Angry Chicken, a podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. I am Garrett Weinzerl, and I am joined, as always, by Willie Dills Gregory and Jocelyn Moffat. Guys, I'm alive.
Yeah, he's back.
Hooray!
He made it out the other side. Awesome, man.
I had so many people on Twitter and Reddit being like, oh, dude, I hope you're getting better. I'm like, I'm just, like, I have, like, a bug or something. I'm not dying. It's not the end of...
Yeah, but, I mean, you missed the whole show, dude.
Yeah, come on, dude.
Actually, that was kind of... To people who have kind of a regular podcast schedule that they listen to, and especially if they're Frog Pants people... That did suck because we missed the instance, and then we missed Angry Chicken, and it was like, oh no!
Oh, I didn't know you guys missed the instance that same week.
Yeah, we didn't have an instance. Scott was, I think, the one under the weather.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact.
Illness abounded among the Frog Pants family.
Yeah,
so that sucked.
Scott and I were playing Heroes the other night and lamenting both of our messed up throats. It was
By the way,
fun.
I've been playing a bunch more Heroes than I had been in the past, and oh my god, I'm loving that game.
The game's amazing. Jocelyn, what's wrong with you? Stop.
I'm sorry. I'm just not playing it enough.
Stop playing
Where
Smitten
you
or
at?
whatever that game is that you
I
play.
am always playing Smite. Smite or now Evolved. So I'm sorry. I'll get back into Heroes, I promise.
Yeah. Still want to play Evolve, but I'm not spending $60 on that.
Yeah, I'm waiting for that one to come down in price, and then I will be all over it. But for now, it just,
It's just so much fun, dudes.
Yeah, but in today's video game market, I expect it to be fairly cheap pretty soon, and or go on sale, and I'll just wait for that. I don't need it.
Yeah, it wasn't the worst week for us to miss. Honestly, everyone, all you missed was us making wrong predictions about the news at PAX. That's pretty much what we saved you from by skipping a week.
There was a lot to talk about though, and
we're
getting to some stuff had to get cut, but there was a lot to talk about. Can I talk about some of the? Do we have anything to get to before I just bring up this thing that I just put in at the top?
No, go right ahead.
Okay. Well, thanks for the patrons, right? That's the only thing that we have here. Thank you, Oh, by the way, did you see we have 400 of them now?
We have 400, and we passed 2,000 a month.
Wow, I did not see that.
Thank you all very, very much, patrons. Patreon.com/TAC, full of the most badass mother cluckers you will ever meet.
I can't believe it. I just can't believe it. Mind is blown.
I can't either. Yeah. It wasn't that long ago I checked it and it was like 1,600. So you guys.
It was totally the tournament, guys. You know it.
The tournament probably had a lot to do with it.
Great. Now we're gonna get emails saying, that tournament was nothing but a shill for you guys to increase your subscriber number.
Which is totally not the case. We've been promising tournaments for patrons for a long time.
Yeah,
so.
That when we do a tournament, we need to reward the patrons, right? So if this was an incentive for you to become a patron, fine. But that's just I thought.
And I did notice a few people subscribing for 1 cent and then registering for the tournament, and then
that's fine. Do what
so
you
it's just
do.
It's we hit a milestone, but some of it was a penny at a time. So
not everybody can afford more than a penny, and that's totally
absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine.
But I just want to bring something up. The other thing I'm mind blown about is what the hell happened to Zoo? The Zoo is just gone.
Well, I don't know if it's gone. I've seen a couple. Usually it was around rank, I want to say 7 and 6 last season. I saw a couple, and then I saw a couple posts of people saying that they took Zoo. There's a new Zoo deck all the way to Legend, because for a while there, people were still trying to figure it out after Undertaker got nerfed. So I think there's some cool stuff going on with Zoo. I don't know. Have you not seen any Zoo?
I haven't seen any. I actually did see maybe one towards the second half of last season, and I've seen 0 this season. And pretty much the ones that I did see were people playing kind of old school Zoo, where it looked like maybe they just don't have a lot of cards, and this is the only deck they could really make, and they're just still playing it, and that's just still what they're playing. I wasn't seeing a lot of new awesome Zoo tech. Some Zoo tech is in the current, this is the other thing. Warlock is now pretty much Demon Lock. When you see Warlock, you can almost 100% of the time mulligan for Demon Lock. There's not really that weird kind of is it Zoo, is it Handlock hesitation that you used to have, where you used to kind of pay attention to the mulligan. Handlock mulligan their whole hand more often, and Zoo kept most of their hand more often.
I'm still
seeing Handlock.
I started laddering up really late because I've been kind of busy, and I went up against a Warlock today that unloaded its hand like a Zoolock, so it played a Flame Imp, then it played a Nerubian Egg, and I'm like, oh, okay, I guess you're playing like Nax era Zoolock, and then it dropped 2 Zombie Chows, and I no longer had a clue what they were doing.
That was just board control. That actually could be like some crazy board control. Like they're just looking for the most value for their mana cost for every card. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying. Like I was so confused by it. I'm like, you're dropping all these, and I'm doing it, guys. I'm gonna teach myself how to play Oil Rogue. Damn it! That's what I've been playing.
It's so hard.
It's so much fun though. Every time I think I'm dead, I win. That's how it works.
That's pretty much how it works. You have to like be okay with the fact that you're probably going to be down to like 2 health.
I'm sitting there. I'm like, I'm on 6 health. I'm so dead next turn, and then I draw like prep and sprint, and it's like, oh, I just win. Cool. All right, let's do this thing.
So I have some. I mean, we can agree that at least Zoo is less prevalent than before, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah. I think Mech Mage has taken over.
My theory is that I think that if you wanted to play a really quick board control-y deck, Mech Mage just is the better choice, right, at this point. But I think the other thing is that the other decks all got better early options, and Zoo just was getting crushed by decks that maybe they were overwhelming before, like Paladin and stuff. Paladin can get enough creatures on board early enough in the game that they can... Like, Zoo just isn't the deck that gets the most power on the board by turn 3 anymore. It's just not. And they're suffering now, so... It's just weird. I thought at one point that Zoo was just going to be that kind of deck that was just always going to be around in one form or another, because that play style of empty my hand and then life tap and be able to play more stuff just seemed like that was just never going to be bad, right? Somehow it's bad now. So interesting.
I have a feeling like I have a sinking feeling that it will come back, because it seems to always go in waves. Sure. But this seems to be the longest stint where it's kind of out of fashion.
I would like to see somebody play just straight aggro Zoo again, because I don't know if you guys remember before, before there was really like that Zoo that Raynad had come up with. There was just pure aggro Warlock that was just all 1 and 2 drops, and it didn't have it didn't have Doom Guards and stuff like that. It just had all of the 1 and 2 drops, and it purely overwhelmed you and just tapped and then continued. I think that kind of Warlock could come back. I'm curious to see if we'll ever get there, but with more sweepers and stuff like that, especially with that new Rogue card, it's gonna be tough for them to continue doing what they're doing. But I just thought it was interesting, and we hadn't really discussed it on the show.
Yeah, no, they're definitely missing. Now, you made a new fun deck that I know you want to talk about.
I've got a few, man. I think my new niche now is Rogue fun decks.
Okay. All right.
So, newest fun deck is Rogobot, and Rogobot is
I love the name already.
Alarmobot Rogue, and I'm pretty proud of this deck because it actually wins. It can win games. It's not necessarily that it's a good deck, but it's a deck that can, I think, just kind of beat any deck if it gets what it needs, right? So I actually just played it on stream and won a game against a Paladin who dropped Tyrion. And then I sapped it, played 2 Alarmobots, concealed them, and then the next turn he played Tyrion again. He was at exactly 18. He played Tyrion again. My Alarmobots pulled out Malagos, and I double eviscerated his face for 18 damage.
Oh my god!
It's kind of like a Malagos deck in the sense that you do a bunch of damage if you get Malagos, but instead of just prep, playing whatever when you get Malagos on the board, you're trying to just get Malagos on the board early, but you have other options: Malagos, Sneasel, Shredder, Ragnaros, or Ysera. Those are the 4 cards you're trying to pull with your
the cards you see in every rogue deck nowadays.
Yeah, totally.
Just your run-of-the-mill rogue deck.
Yeah, totally. It's exactly like that. No, the whole point of this deck is to be able to keep your board kind of clear, and then at some point play an Alarmobot with a Conceal, with only 1 creature in your hand that's an amazing hand, or an amazing creature, like one of those 4. So it actually works. I'm sure there's ways I can make it better, but it's pretty cool. So it's going to be in the show notes if anybody wants to see what the list is. And then the other one that I'll put in the list next week, and I'll just give everybody, I just started playing with it and messing with it. It's called Roger, and it's the Ogre Rogue deck.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Folks, again, amove.tv/TAC. Click on the post for this episode and check out the show notes for a link to Rogobot. And,
Roger coming soon once I've perfected it.
Roger coming soon.
Which I did go on a win streak with it today on stream. So
awesome.
That deck is viable.
Oh, geez. Just delightful. You silly man.
And I would have won more games, except sometimes 50-50, your guy doesn't hit face and you lose. So. But it's fine because it's fun as hell.
I mean, you should really just call that the Dills deck because it finally,
exactly.
there is a deck that really is boiled down to your essence, sir.
Yeah, I think Team 5 put those cards in for me, and I should probably play them.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
You probably should.
What the hell am I doing? Not
I mean,
playing
you're
these cards?
still wearing your pants in World of Warcraft, even though the stats are terrible now.
Well, I make everything look like I'm wearing my pants.
No, that's what he tells everyone, guys. He's actually still wearing those pants.
Still wearing those pants.
The stats are just sad. You know?
Here's a fun little bit of science, though, about the Roger deck. If you have Mogre the Ogre in play and an Ogre that has the 50-50 chance, it actually does the 50-50 twice. So it'll attack first. If it does the 50-50 to miss, it might 50-50 back to the thing that you initially wanted. It could happen.
That's amazing.
It does it's really interesting and weird stuff happens.
Man, that is the silliest thing I've ever seen. Right before we get in the news, I did have one thing I wanted to mention. If you go over to amove.tv right now or tinyurl.com/annoyoverlay, you can go grab yourself a Hearthstone overlay that I threw up for really anyone to pick up. I put this up because, I don't know, a few episodes ago, I guess I mentioned that I wasn't going to go to Nerdtacular this year because it was a little pricey and I'm planning a wedding and whatnot. And a surprising amount of listeners asked if they could fund the trip, and I didn't want to just take money. So there's an overlay up. If you want to donate to my Nerdtacular trip, you go for it. If you don't and you still want the overlay, take the overlay. But go check it out. tinyurl.com/annoyoverlay. Thank you very much if you do donate. So, awesome stuff. We have a lot to talk about, so I'm going to go right past my own personal pimpage and into this week's news.
Good news, everyone!
Just a reminder, you can submit stories and vote on them over on the TAC subreddit, which can be found at tacpodcast.reddit.com. Or you can be Team 5 and you can show this video at PAX East and our whole show will be written for us.
Have ye heard the rumblings? The mountain stirs once more. Beneath its crags, cliffs, and rocks, there's evil in its core. Fire made flesh, dragon's breath, teeth and claws and flame, calling any heroes out there that are brave or just insane. Blackrock Mountain, a Hearthstone adventure.
Yes, guys, the next adventure for Hearthstone has been announced, Blackrock Mountain, which, thanks to many data mine and fan websites, we kind of all knew already.
Yeah, that was not a surprise.
No, it wasn't. But you know what was? That wonderful jingle from that probably drunk dwarf.
Yeah. Blackrock Mountain, we don't care about rhyming. That's pretty much what they're doing there.
yeah, pretty much. So, I'm stoked. This is great. I mean, last year we had Naxxramas announced at PAX. This year we have Blackrock Mountain announced, and we don't need to wait until July because it's coming out next month, apparently.
That's so exciting. I'm so ready for this. It feels a little bit fast because I feel like we still haven't even figured out everything from GBG yet. But, oh man, so exciting. Dragons!
Dragons.
Yeah.
Although I'm kind of wondering how they can fit enough other dragons in with 31 cards and the cards we've already seen. I mean, I know that Dodd said, "Oh yeah, there'll be enough dragons to make dragon-themed deck." And we already have a lot of dragons, but
yeah, well,
there's not really a lot of dragons though.
There's not that many. Yeah.
No, there's not, and
you're gonna need more 4, 5, 2, 3 drop dragons to really, you know what I mean? There's too many 8 and plus drop dragons.
I'll
And dragon?
I definitely want to talk about that, but let's talk about that when we get to the new cards. All
right.
First up, I guess let's talk about the details. It's going to be 5 wings again. It's going to open over the course of 5 weeks. So you're going to have Wing 1, Blackrock Depths, then Molten Core, then Blackrock Spire, then Blackwing Lair, then Hidden Lab. Hidden Lab.
I'm forgetting what the hell Hidden Lab is.
Yeah, I don't, and I mean, obviously not being a big raider way back in the day, because I haven't been playing WoW for that long, I was like, Hidden Lab, what?
I'm not sure what it is either.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So this isn't a thing that I've missed, because I'm like, I recognized everything else. I've been into all of these, Molten Core, Blackrock Spire, all of that. And so I was just like, Hidden Lab. Ugh.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know. It's weird. I'm not sure what it is yet, but something cool and new. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something called Secret Lab, I thought, somewhere, and that was like a Ashara thing, but that wasn't. I don't think that had anything to do with Blackrock Mountain. So I don't know. Whatever.
Gotcha.
We'll see.
Chat room can't seem to decide either. Some things is from Blackwing Lair, some things is from Blackwing Descent.
Is it in the new version of Upper Blackrock Spire?
Oh, that might be what it is, because I probably wouldn't remember that because I barely.
Yeah, I think I only did that once.
Yeah.
Well, I did Blackrock stuff a lot back in the day. I wouldn't say I did Molten Core that much, because that was before my time of actually raiding. But like BRD, I did that thing constantly, dude. So many times. That was the longest, most annoying 5-man ever.
Yep.
And I did it. You had to do it over and over again when you got to level 50-ish or so.
Yeah.
And I could never ever go in that place again, and I'd be fine.
But
I'll go in there for this with Hearthstone stuff.
Yeah. I remember trying to run through the lava so I could get attuned to MC without having to actually run the entire stupidly long dungeon.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Remember, what's the room where the dudes keep coming back, and you have to get the torches and then light the torches, and sometimes it'd be like, nobody looted the torch, really? And then you got to run around the room again and figure out where the torch dropped. Oh god.
Well, in Blackrock Mountain, we're going to have the 5 wings. We're going to have 17 bosses total, and a total of 31 new cards being added. There will, of course, be heroic modes for all of the bosses. And pricing is up, which we can actually show you because I'm fancy this week.
Whoa.
If you're listening on audio, you're like, what? Well, I don't see it. Why aren't you beaming images into my brain? But unlike Nax, there's not going to be a free wing this time.
I kind of get that.
Do you? I don't know.
Yeah, I think.
Well,
like, why
There's
not?
arguments both sides. I want to hear Jocelyn's argument. But...
Well, I mean, when they first brought out Nax, it was a totally brand new game mode. It was like, I don't know. It was just, everything was new, and they wanted people to try it. They wanted people to get in there. They wanted our feedback. And so the first wing was free. And it's not still free, right? It was only free for a limited time.
Right, it was a launch event.
Yeah, so, I mean, that was when they launched Adventure Mode. This isn't a launch of Adventure Mode. This is just a new expansion.
A new adventure, yeah.
Yeah. So I can kind of see it not being free.
I get it, and I understand why, because there's a couple reasons why it makes sense not to do a free one. One is that this gives them kind of A/B testing, which is like the A was a free first wing, and then the B is no free first wing. And now they can kind of see what the numbers actually look like. Sales-wise, is that something that we should be doing every time, a free wing? Or do we not need to do that? Are we still going to kind of make the same amount of money without doing that, right?
That's a good point.
So essentially it gives them, like, they've launched it 2 different ways, and they kind of compare notes, really, on what actually goes down. The other thing, too, is, the first time they did it, that was, like, the first new content at all, and probably a big seller to just bring people into the game, right? People who hadn't already been in the game. Now we're talking 25 million players. Less of a need, really, to bring new players into the game at this point. I think they've kind of gotten to the point where they have a lot of damn players, and they don't need to kind of give things away anymore to attract new players. So just kind of less of a need to do it. But I as a player, I would prefer that they give a free one out, obviously.
Well, obviously.
But as a company, I get why they don't.
Yeah.
So I'm not mad at them. I'm not mad at them.
Are you mad, Garrett? Come on, where's the rage?
I'm not mad. I just want it for free.
Yeah, but here's okay. But are any of us not paying the $25?
Oh God, no! I'm paying it as soon as they open up the pre-orders.
Okay, first off, we are without a doubt the three most biased individuals to be having this discussion.
Very true.
I'm just saying, like, are the three of us like? It doesn't matter to us whether the first wing is free or not. To us personally.
Yeah.
No, not at all. I'm pre-ordering it the second I can pre-order it. Yada yada yada. That being said, it's just that they set an expectation, and then it didn't come to fruition.
Can it really be an expectation though if they've only done it one other time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, like if the first time you ever meet me, I punch you in the face. You can probably expect it every time you meet me from that point forward. I will probably punch you in the face every single time.
Fair enough.
I've set the expectation now.
First impressions.
There's that guy who punches me in the face. I should probably not going to say hi to him.
Yeah, he's a jerk. But if you gave everyone cookies, better reaction.
Now, I want to get your guys' take on this too, because some people tweet at me and say, "Are you pissed that they're like saying you only get this card back if you pay the pre-order $25 price?" I would pay the pre-order price whether there was a card back or not, because for me the $25 is supporting a game I really enjoy, and also I just get to keep my in-game gold for whatever the hell I decide to spend that on whenever I decide to spend it, right? And that to me is worth it, with card back or no. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it's fine, because I feel like a card back, if they were like offering you a free bonus card if you did this, that would kind of piss me off. But a card back is 100% luxury
cosmetic
item. You don't need it. You could live without it, right? What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I think it's, I don't know. I think it's totally fine. It's like you said. I agree with you. It's cosmetic. They already give perks in all of the other Blizzard games for pre-ordering. You get a pet or something in WoW. Yeah. I guess usually in WoW that's extra money spent on like a collector's edition or something. But there's always some type of pre-order perk. Mm-hmm. What was it for Diablo Reaper of Souls? You got Vala in Heroes of the Storm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I think we're all kind of on the same page that if card backs are really important to you, you're probably the kind of person who doesn't mind spending $25 anyway. Right? I mean, yeah.
Well,
totally me.
To me, that didn't make or break it. I'm going to spend the money anyway because I'm very much in line with your line of thinking, Dills, which is, well, actually, for me, it's just I just spend my gold too fast to save this up at any speed that would get me the whole adventure quick enough.
Yeah.
So,
I could probably pay for the whole thing in gold, but I don't want to. That's the other thing too. I'd rather spend 700 gold on 7 packs than 700 gold on a wing.
Yeah, and to me, $25 for 31 new cards and a fun little single player adventure is worth it. It's worth it to me.
Sure.
And like I said, the card back definitely didn't make it or break it for me. I spent the money on Nax. I was definitely going to spend the money on this. For me, someone who's going to buy it anyway, it's like, oh, cool, I get a new shiny card back. And it looks dope. I like this card back. So.
Yeah, and I completely agree with the line of thinking of you're supporting a game that you love. Like, I mean, whenever anyone questions the amount of money I've spent on either this or Smite, I'm just like, yeah, but at the same time, like, I spend probably like 60 hours a week playing those two games. Like, that's a whole hell of a lot of entertainment for, whatever amount of money I spend. So I think we should be supporting Hearthstone as much as possible.
Well, yeah, obviously. But still, I don't know. Obviously, I think all three of us would prefer not to have to pay money, but
But I also understand that in the real world, sometimes you got to pay some money.
Yeah, things cost money. Not everything's free.
Right. Absolutely. Obviously, the big thing to talk about are the new cards that were previewed. 5 new cards were shown at PAX East, all with a decidedly Blackrock kind of flavor. Lots of dragon talk. Only one dragon shown. Mm-hmm. What's going on, guys?
What other cards with dragon interaction, though?
Yes.
So
well, that's the thing, and that's exactly. This is what I was talking about when I was like, "Oh, Dills, don't blow your entire discussion at the top," because this is where I wanted to get into it. Was they showed Ren Blackhand, and I'm like, this card's crap if you don't have a dragon.
Well, that's crap if you do have a dragon too. Honestly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're right.
That card is just crap. That's a crap card.
Of the card. I'm sitting here. I'm just like, I feel like I wish I knew less about card games. Because they showed me the only legendary they showed during this whole thing, and I couldn't care less about it.
Yeah, this card sucks.
Oh, poor Blackhand.
Yeah, I wish he had just a little bit more health.
8-4 for 7. All right, that's already terrible.
Yeah.
Battle Cry. If I don't even care what it says after there. This card sucks. Yeah. Oh man, this card. If you're holding a dragon, destroy a legendary minion. So I have to be holding a dragon, and there has to be a legendary in play for this card to be any good.
Notice, too, that it doesn't say destroy an enemy legendary minion. This is a card you cannot play if you already have a legendary minion on board, and they do not.
I didn't even think about that. You're absolutely right.
It's like Big Game Hunter. You know, with Big Game Hunter, sometimes you play it. You can't play it because you're the only one with a 7-attack creature on board. You can't play this if Battle Cry must happen.
You know what? Ren Blackhand should read. Ren Blackhand, waste 7 mana, die to Big Game Hunter.
Sure. Yeah. If it was a 4/8, this could be pretty sweet. But as an 8/4, it dies to piloted shredders. It dies to Azure Drakes. It dies to almost everything. So. Yeah.
I am really excited about Hungry Dragon, though. Can we?
Really?
That card looks so fun.
Well, it's cool, but I'll say that I don't think it's as good as people are giving it credit for yet. But
I'm not saying I'm excited for it because it's amazing. I'm saying I'm excited for it because this card is just silly.
Sure. Well, it's another cool card. But I don't think it's going to replace the current awesome 4-drops. I think Piloted Shredder is still going to be more of a 4-drop than this in most decks.
No, because then you get the random minion.
Yeah.
But, and it's a 2 cost, not a 1 cost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but it's intriguing for sure. And there's actually some other ways to use this for your own benefit as well. So we should say what it is, though, right?
Yeah, sorry. Hungry Dragon, 4 mana, 5 attack, 6 health, Battle Cry. Summon a random 1-cost minion for your opponent.
All right, so good stats for a 4-drop, obviously.
Yep, but a drawback in the Battle Cry. Yeah,
it summons a 1-cost minion for your opponent, which actually could be a 3/2. A Flame Imp could come out. Zombie Chow, a 2/3 could come out. So it's not like you're definitely getting a 2/1 or a 1/2 or a 1/1 or it could be what's the 3/1 with Wind Fury for Shaman with Overload?
The mech.
No, not the mech.
Not the mech.
The old school
the Dust Devil.
Dust Devil. Oh. It could get a Dust Devil. And a Dust Devil would kind of suck. So let's say you had your own minion already in play. Like you dropped a 3-drop, and then they weren't able to remove your 3-drop. Then this kind of gets even more value because then you can use the creature you already have on board. Or let's say you're a rogue and you have a dagger equipped. More often than not, you'll probably be able to kill the 1-drop that comes out.
Yeah, there's tons of scenarios where you have an answer to it, but there's also those fringe cases where it's gonna whatever is summoned really throws a monkey wrench in your entire plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly, and that's similar to Piloted Shredder. Like there's some interesting times where, let's say I play my minion first, then I attack the Piloted Shredder, and then I get Doomsayer, and I'm like, damn it. Like, if I'd known I was going to get Doomsayer, I wouldn't have played this minion, because now I know he doesn't even have to kill my minion. When it comes back to my turn, all my stuff's going to die anyway. But then there's the argument that, so that's like 1 out of whatever it is, 30-something, right? Yeah. And then there's the other thing, like, well, but I should kill it first, because what if I get Mana Wraith? And then I can't play the minion I was planning to play, because it costs 1 more now. So, like, there's always going to be weird, tricky stuff with these random cards. And that's going to make the game really interesting and dynamic, obviously, but it also means that the card is slightly lower in value.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do we want to dive like really deep into all of these cards? Because I feel like we're probably going to do these cards week to week as they're released.
Let's talk Grim Patron at least, right?
Okay. All right.
Because this card is crazy, and there's some interesting stuff, and I think people are pretty excited about this card.
Yeah, that's great.
Although I don't know if they should be.
We'll talk. Screw. The cards are here. We'll talk about them, and we'll talk about them again on the week they're released.
Sure.
Okay, Grim Patron, 5 mana, 3 attack, 3 health. Whenever this minion survives damage, summon another Grim Patron.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really cool card.
It's a cool ass card. Yeah, I think if it was like a 6 mana 4/4, I think this card would be OP. 5 mana 3/3, I think it's fine because you can kind of effectively do stuff to it yourself. Yeah, but it's going to create interesting situations though, right? Where you can't play like Knife Juggalo and Unleash the Hounds when this card's on the board. You're gonna have to play. You're gonna have to play your bow first, kill it, then do whatever else. Like it's gonna stop your opponent's play.
The text is super interesting, and you want to dive into it because it doesn't specify that it has to survive till the end of turn. Summon it. It's just period when it survives damage, and it also doesn't have to be on a specific turn. It doesn't only happen on your opponent's turn or your turn. It just happens. Period. So if it lives to the next turn where you're in control of it, and you can start sending it wherever you want, you summon your own damn Grim Patrons.
Yeah.
And there's obviously, I mean, why on earth would anyone willingly attack into this thing without outright killing it?
You wouldn't. There's just no, you never would. But I think there's going to be some interesting plays with this. Obviously, everyone talks about putting in a warrior deck and then playing bouncing blades, right? Because let's say it's the only minion on board, right? The first blade hits it and it summons another Grim Patron immediately. Mm-hmm. Now it has to summon at least one more because it's now a 3/2 and a 3/3. It's never going to kill one of them on the second hit. So you'll get at least 3 Grim Patrons, right? And then you could potentially just fill your entire board up, but eventually one has to die so you'll end up with 6. You'll end up with 6 at the most. And they'll be at varying levels of health. But
and you'll
that's
also
a really interesting combo. That's
so cool.
You will also salute whoever you're playing for running Bouncing Blade.
Yeah. That's the real problem though, is that it forces you to play a suboptimal card. 2 suboptimal cards that only work when they're played with each other, essentially. So I don't think this is OP in its current state. I think it's fine. It's a fun card. I'll make a weird deck with it, obviously, and then I'll have fun with it. But I don't think you're going to see this in competitive play. If it was, a 6-mana 4/4, this card would be sick. Because it would be hard to kill at 4 health, right? But
3 makes it a little bit too easy to just kill it right away.
Yeah.
Right.
I like that there's cards like this, though, right? Like,
yeah, obviously.
All cards don't have to be good. They can just be fun, and that's why there's fun decks that exist. So.
And again, with all of these that are like, they're not perfect cards that are definitely 100% ranked playable. Arena exists, and there will absolutely be scenarios where that's the card you have to pick, and you're going to have hella awesome stories to tell.
Well, if you're a mage, I don't mind picking this ever, because it's a 5-drop. Or I can play it on turn 7 and guarantee a 3/2 and a 3/3 that it's going to be kind of tough to deal with. And yeah, it's 7 mana to do that, but it's going to be something your opponent must deal with without, like, Consecrate won't work. You'll summon another one.
Do you think you think this card will bring a resurgence of Elven Archer being put in people's decks?
Well, it will definitely go in my Grim Patron deck, for sure. But I don't know if it's going to mean that, people who playing a Grim Patron deck would play Elven Archer.
This summer,
they'll play Elven Archer, they'll play Wild Pyromancer, they'll play all the stuff that does damage to your own shit.
From the man who brought you Rogobot and drink your milkshake comes the Grim Patron deck.
Oh yeah, looking forward to that. But no, not a great card, not a card that's going to be all over the place. So,
what about in priest decks? Because you can heal it back up again.
Yeah, but there's still, I don't know. To me, it's still...
You still have to pay it past turn and hope it lives.
I'd much rather play so many other 5-drops.
Yeah.
I'd rather play a Bomb Lobber than this. Any day. Bomb Lobber, same price, kills another minion, Like this, you're hoping that you get to keep it alive.
Yeah, if you can guarantee that you can damage this on the turn you play it, I think that's the classes you want to be looking at. That's why you look at mages, and that's why I mentioned Elven Archer.
I just don't see it in any legitimate constructed deck of any class. But I do think it'll be a fun deck that people will have fun with, and they'll play periodically. Like, it could go up against some really bad rares in Arena, and you might pick this.
And reminder, we thought Dr. Boom was going to be bad, so we could just be totally wrong.
Well, we didn't think it was going to be terrible, but we thought,
we were not excited about Dr. Boom.
We didn't think it was going to be the end all be all.
I was excited about Boombots. And they did not disappoint.
All right, let's talk about Blackwing Technician. 3 mana, 2 attack, 4 health, common rarity. Battle Cry. If you're holding a dragon, game +1/+1.
Yep.
So this is the second time we've seen this now, this whole if you're holding a dragon thing. And we got asked a couple times on Twitter and Reddit what that actually means. And correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but that means in your hand, like if you have a dragon in your hand, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, as a matter of fact.
With the dragon race in your hand.
Friday, when PAX East was the day PAX East happened, that afternoon, I had my buddies Ben and Kyle over, and they're big Magic nerds. And we were talking about this in Red and Black Hand, and they're like, "Well, now do you have to reveal the dragon in your hand?" I'm like, "No, it's not. It's not Magic."
But
like,
you reveal that you have it.
You reveal that you
Exactly,
have
that's
right.
You give your,
but that's a
your
super
opponent
interesting thing.
intelligence.
This is not a mechanic that could exist in paper Magic, or paper card games in general. Like, imagine Hearthstone was a paper game. You play Blackwing Technician, and you put a +1/+1 counter on, and you go, "Just trust me, dude."
Yeah, I totally have a dragon. I promise.
Just trust me on this. In a paper game, you would have to reveal a dragon to fight against cheating.
But if this was a Magic card, it would say reveal, because there's a ton of cards like that in Magic, and they all say
absolutely
morph, reveal a blue card in your hand or whatever to unmorph it, like all that kind of stuff. So
well, that's what's so interesting, and what makes it interesting, since you're not revealing the dragon, is all of the assumptions your opponent starts making, or you start making if you see a Blackwing Technician played and it gets buffed. You're like, well, you start thinking about what dragons they have in their hand, and a lot of things could be affected by that, as providing you guess correctly or incorrectly. What dragons?
There's cards that already exist like this. The Mad Scientist, you kill it and no secret gets procced or something like that. Then if you've already seen like one secret played, and then you kill the Mad Scientist and no secret procs, and the other secret is in their hand, because most hunters are only running 2 secrets or maybe 3 at the most at this point. So in that instance, like, okay, now I know other secret in hand, and it's most likely a copy of whatever secret I already saw. Next time the secret gets played, you kind of know what it is. So this isn't a new thing necessarily, but this is, if there's a lot more cards like this is kind of the biggest version of that, the card that tips the opponent to what your hand is. However, if you see this card come down, period, you pretty much know instantly that you're playing a dragon deck.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just because of the synergy on it, or they're just maybe they just started playing and all they have so far is Blackrock Mountain. But even then, if they have Blackrock Mountain, they probably have some dragons.
Sure. Yeah. But so is this card actually good though? I don't know. I mean, essentially you're dropping a Taz Dingo with no taunt on turn 3 if you have a dragon in your hand. That's pretty good. But I don't know if it's amazing. Like things like Tinkertown Technician, that's a better card. 4/4 that gives you a spare part if you have a mech on the board. I think that's just a better card. An SI7 agent, a 3/3 that does damage to something when you combo it out, that's still a better card. Like, I don't think this card is overpowered by any means, but
yeah, I mean, well, SI7 specifically, I feel like that scenario is a little different on curve. Like, SI7 agent with no coin on turn 3 or no activator on turn 3, probably not as good as Blackwing Technician on curve with a dragon in your hand.
No, that's true. There's plenty of times where you play SI7 and you can't. But usually what you can use, you can kind of plan around for you still will get value later. I don't know. But to me, if you're playing a dragon deck, obviously this is your 3-drop. So it'll go in all those decks.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about the final card, Dark Iron Skulker. It's a 5-mana card, 4 attack, 3 health, and a battle cry that reads, deal 2 damage to all undamaged enemy minions. This is a rogue-specific minion, by the way. This is the only class card that we saw.
And the other important thing to note here is a lot of the cards that will like deal 2 damage to all undamaged minions or things like that, deal 2 damage to all minions with Death Rattle, that type of effect has kind of in the past always been all minions. This is enemy minions. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Well, and I'm hoping, when you hover over this in your collection and you get to see the flavor text, that it just reads all the backstabs.
Yeah. It kind of backstabs everything. You're right.
It does. It absolutely does.
Yeah. I wonder what
the rogues need more help right now.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if they're going to do any kind of cool animation around that where he kind of swoops along and actually does kind of stab everybody in the back. It's kind of sweet. But no, I think this card is actually really, really good. If you look at current rogue decks, there's Fan of Knives and there's Blade Flurry, but those kind of take some setup to be really good. Like Fan of Knives is not really that good unless you can get some spell power on board. Just 1 damage. It counters like muster for battle, right?
Because it has the card draw is really the only reason we accept how low power that card can be.
It's in all the rogue decks because it cycles and it thins your deck, right? But it doesn't really do much to the board. 1 damage to everything doesn't oftentimes do much to the board. Doing 2 damage to everything though that's crazy. And playing a 4/3 at the same time. Like, you're playing a 4/3 that kind of does a consecrate, and you're paying 5 mana, where consecrate itself just costs 4 mana. Seems pretty good. I think this card's going to be in a lot of decks.
Yeah, no.
This is probably the best card out of these 5.
Yeah, this is one of the, again, like how we look at cards and we're not always right. Like, I'm looking at this, I'm like, I love it. I'm not sure how this card won't work out. I'm curious of like when this releases. If it's just like, well, like, you know, a month from now we'll be, Dark Iron Skulker, man. Whatever happened to that card? No one ever played it. It's just, you know.
It just gives Rogue more tools on turn 5 too, because think about what they play on turn 5 right now, and they pretty much play Azure Drake and Lotheb, right? And that's kind of it.
Yeah.
This will give them another option for something to put in that 5 slot that kind of opens up getting into that late game and kind of fighting back against aggro to set up for that big oil burst combo. So
yeah,
Oil Rogue is getting even better, I think, with this card. But we'll see. We don't know the other cards yet. So yeah.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the other legendaries that we're thinking of probably getting? Now, we already have Ragnaros. Nefarian has to be one of them, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Like, there's no way we're not getting a Nefarian card.
We already have what's the 9/5? We already have the Core Hound.
Oh, the Beast.
Yeah.
The Beast. Yeah. How could we forget the Beast?
I mean, yeah, that card sucks. I don't know. I mean, yeah, I think the Nefarian's definitely going to be there. Let's see. Molten Core had, so maybe Ragnaros, Baron Geddon we already have. Major Domo? Major Domo was a big guy, right? Lucifron?
Yeah. Okay.
Magmadar?
Was Blackrock Mountain the one with who was the boss? It was like a crazy Naga with the big flaming trident that he actually dropped. It was a really cool weapon back in vanilla. Was that in Blackrock? I can't remember the boss's name. I just remember getting the trident on my hunter at the time and being like, yeah, flaming trident.
So Upper Blackrock was the 10-man, right? That had, okay, hold on, I'm gonna look this up. Blackrock was a 10-man.
I opened up a can. I apologize, everyone.
Yeah, way to go.
We're going down a Google hole.
I really don't know what we're gonna get. Yeah, we already have. So the Beast, that was in Upper Blackrock, and that we already have. So yeah, I don't know. There's some stuff we already have. So it'll be interesting to see what we end up getting. But I think we can safely say that Nefarian and Major Domo, I think.
Yeah.
Lucifron, yeah. It'll be cool. A lot of fire stuff.
Lots of
What
fire.
about the guy right at the beginning of, I think it was Spire, with all the eggs? That you had to like mind control him to break all the eggs.
Oh god, yeah. He was one of the dragonkin, like the quadruped dragonkin. God, that fight was such a pain to solo.
I know. So then, like, I feel like maybe if there was like his card and he did the same sort of thing as like Dr. Boom, where he like spawned eggs or something, that would be fun.
Oh, that would be really cool. Like a dragon that spawns like 2 eggs, and if you break the eggs, whelps come out.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Oh, make it happen. Oh, jeez. Like, that'd be so good. That'd be so. It's just something that like floods your entire board with eggs, so it's like the room from the Leroy Jenkins thing. Oh, so good, so good. Speaking of everything being on fire, they also showed the new game board, which looks dope. I can't wait to click on all of the things. I also think I spot a Leroy Jenkins heart tabard in between the eggs. So, good reference, guys.
Nice.
Good reference. Yeah. So I'm sure we're going to have whelps flying around.
Many whelps, handle it. So they do appear to be going through kind of the timeline of raiding, right? Like Nax into Blackrock Mountain. It feels like we're just gonna get kind of like Karazhan seems to be kind of like
but Nax was after Blackrock.
Was it?
Yeah.
Nax was like
wasn't Nax in
I guess kind of.
Naxxramas was the final raid of
vanilla.
Vanilla.
It was the final raid of original vanilla, right? So
Blackrock,
I guess that's true.
Yeah. So Blackrock and MC, those all came.
But so these are both. So this is all from vanilla.
But this is all vanilla, yes.
So that kind of hints that we'll be getting BC stuff next, right?
Yeah, I hope so. If they're going, if that's even what they're doing, if that's even what they're doing, honestly, they could jump around. It wouldn't bother me. I do very, very much want to see Karazhan though, and I want to hear that parlor music added to this game.
It just would be bizarre to me if the next thing is like ICC, and then they're like, okay, now Karazhan, and now let's just go in order. Like this makes sense to me. Let's just go in order.
Stop messing around, Blizzard. Come on.
See, this is the problem with doing a show with 3 WoW players, because we're all in agreement. We're just like, yeah, well, I love all the raids. Just give me them all in order.
Yeah.
Don't skip any of them. Well, except maybe Serpentine Cavern. I can do without that one.
Oh yeah, I guess we still have some troll stuff to get to before.
Oh God,
BC. Zul'Gurub, Zulaman.
It starts with a Z and ends with something that doesn't pronounce easily. So, if you want to see more about Blackrock Mountain, head over to the official Hearthstone website and many, many other places. There's a ton of info up over on hearthhead.com, so go check that out. Also at PAX this weekend, we got a preview of Hearthstone on phone for the first time in a long time.
This is actually the first time I've heard it even brought up or mentioned by Blizzard since BlizzCon? Like BlizzCon, they said it'll be coming after whatever. Like they said we'll have it on iPads and tablets, then phones after that. That's the last I've heard.
Yeah, I think you're right.
They did say something else, didn't they? Didn't they give us a timeline recently?
No.
I thought they said coming in 2015.
Maybe they said 2015, but that's pretty much.
Because I was pretty sure that was at this past BlizzCon.
That was the last BlizzCon. That's the last time they mentioned it. But I don't think they said much else at all.
Yeah, no, we really haven't gotten to look at it, and they said it. It has been taking more time because they've had to redesign the UI. The game doesn't just fit on the phone. Although the gentleman who we met at BlizzCon who hacked his phone and got Hearthstone on it, it does work. I did ask him though. It was like, how do you make misplays off? And he's like, oh yeah, it's definitely a little hard to make sure you're clicking on the correct thing.
Well, my buddy Cal, who hang out with at game night, he plays on his phone too. But yeah, he says it's tough. Yeah, he's like, my big fat fingers, I can't really. But he's able to do it.
Right. So that's clearly something that they've noticed, and the user interface will be different as a result. We've got, if you're watching the video version, we have the main screen up right here, so you can see the quest, the shop, the open packs, and the My Collection buttons are these little bars that appear in the lower corners, as opposed to like the buttons underneath the box on the tablet and the PC versions.
Yeah, they've essentially just made everything slightly bigger with less options.
Yeah.
Kind of places.
Looking at the collection, same basic thing. It's really squashed in. I'm sure that you can probably scroll through the My Decks section on the right because there's only enough room for 5 decks, but you obviously still have 9 deck slots. And you can scroll through that, so why can't I scroll on the other things and have more deck slots? Just saying.
I was just going to say, this just totally opens up the whole deck slot argument again.
Absolutely.
Didn't they mention this, though? I thought they had mentioned this at some point, that like they're not against deck slots.
No.
Yeah, I think I heard that too.
It came out, I think it was recently. In one of the most recent surveys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's like, they are considering it.
So it's
I am sure nothing is technically off the table with them. It's just a matter of time and manpower allocation.
So this last one, this is them. This is like opening a pack.
Yes, yeah, they've got a pack open. And so instead of your radial 5 cards in a circle, they're all kind of just side by side. It almost looks like when you're shuffling through albums on the horizontal view on an iPhone.
Oh yeah, that's what. Because I remember I looked at this and I went, "Oh, that looks so familiar." And that's right, it's the album thing. That's why. Yeah.
So they're making some really smart decisions. And I've even got a slide in here for the gameplay. It's very zoomed in, and you can tell like there's some stuff missing. So this is clearly still alpha stages. They did say it was an alpha stage and playable internally. So
I mean, there's not much here that you need though that you don't have, right? I mean, what actually don't we have on this?
Like, we don't have decks, so we
don't have
how
many cards
are remaining. Yeah.
Okay, so that needs to be added somewhere.
Yeah.
But there's this weird blank spot here on the right, which
it's the mana crystal. If you look at
that just swoops out of there and then comes to the right and swoops back in or something.
If you look at the upper left, there's a spot for your opponent's mana crystal. You don't actually have the little like dots that fill up. It's just one big mana crystal and a number indicating.
So
how
I'm
much
guessing
mana
that opens up on the left side when it's the opponent's turn. You can see how much they've used or something.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Because look, it's there on the right.
Yeah.
So it probably goes back in and then it opens on the left or something.
Yeah. Or on the right side for because the screenshot is the player's turn, there's a fraction shown. It's just 4 out of 10, so that they could just do that over the mana symbol for your opponent if they're trying to save
but
screen
like,
real estate.
why have the little hexagon there if you're going to have this bar? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It has to come out of that or something.
Yeah, that's
But
what.
there's nowhere to see how many cards are left in your deck at this. But see, that's the thing. If this swoops back down, maybe you can see it at that point.
I'm about to say, it looks like it's hard to tell, but it looks like there's a little bit of a bevel underneath that, and it looks like where the decks would sit. So
where the decks would normally sit.
Yep.
So anyway, I mean, they've definitely like found the way to kind of fit it in here without getting rid of too much.
Where's the hero power?
it looks like it's covered.
Well,
I wouldn't be surprised if there's a toggle, like put hand down and bring hand up.
Yeah, that's And I'm getting there's not room for 7 minions on either side of this board, so I'm guessing they get smaller the more minions are on the board or something like that.
Maybe.
Yeah. Now
Good luck, Blizzard, figuring out how to fit all this onto my phone, but I'm looking forward to it.
It has to be
I
tough.
feel like now I just need to go get the 6+.
Yeah, like you can't see your health total or your hero power at this point, so you must be able to kind of hide or unhide your hand.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
But oof. Okay. I do not envy the
Chat
people.
room, shake phone for hero power.
Oh God, don't
Oh, God.
please, God no. And then you aim it with gyroscope.
Yeah.
Like
the
a
way
friggin'
this looks makes me
Wiimote.
think we're several months at the earliest away from this.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
several
Yeah.
months.
Yeah. Unless these are older images.
Yeah, that could be too. I mean, these could be like the best ones they've come up with so far, and they're still tooling stuff. So
Yeah. Who knows? But I'm very excited to have even more excuses to not be working on things I should be working on.
it's gonna be weird, man. If this really works and it works smoothly and it's fun to play, it's waiting in line for things is suddenly not gonna be a problem.
Yeah, well, it will be a problem when you make it up to place your order and you're like, hold on.
And you're like, oh
it's
wait,
my turn.
no, but I have lethal. Do I have lethal?
And then the person taking your order goes, well, what's he playing? What's in your hand?
Yeah.
And then you made a really great friend who works at a food establishment.
I can't wait for the guy behind me to go, dude, you totally had lethal, man. You just missed lethal. And you're like, all right, Twitch chat. Stop
We're in
looking
Twitch
at my
chat in
shoulder.
real life.
Yourself.
First of all, I did have lethal if I had 14 mana. Unfortunately, I'm not cheating.
Exactly. I can't shield slam face, dude.
Oh God, that's great. Real quick, because this is taking long, and this would have been better to talk about last week. And as I'm switching back to the overlay, I just realized I didn't change out the strategy bullet from last week. It says Silent Storm's Demon Lock deck. That's not what we're talking about.
No, we're not.
That was a hangover
Sorry.
from the last episode. I apologize.
Excited for that. That's not happening. Go back 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be talking a kind of a beginner's look at terminology about the game. But that's not what we're talking about right now. 2 weeks ago, there was a bunch of card leaks of potential cards from Blackrock Mountain. I don't want to talk about them too much because we have no idea if they're real or not.
I honestly think that they're all fake, dude.
Yeah.
Because if you look at them, they're not designed like regular cards. Like,
Yeah.
just look where the crystal is and the banner and all that stuff. So the crystal is covered by the banner.
Yeah.
Not a real card.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And the font is wrong and stuff.
I just wanted to make quick mention because everyone was losing their mind
Yeah.
last week. So
It hit Reddit pretty hard.
yep, and we have links to all these leaked cards in the show notes, so you can take a look.
I love the whole mind quickening thing. So Garrett.
Yeah, someone here is just baiting me.
Yeah.
Do things on your opponent's turn.
Now, okay. If this was a real card, though, real quick, it's 5 mana, and it literally just says you can use your hero power once during your opponent's turn. How the hell would that ever be worth 5 mana? Somebody please explain to me how that
Maybe
would ever be worth 5 mana.
If the effect is permanent for the rest of the game, and there's somehow becomes a way to ramp mana in a mage deck.
Ugh, there's no way that this would ever be worth it, because like if you think about 3 mana to turn your hero power into an active 2 damage thing for priest, right?
Yep.
Shadow form. Nobody uses that. 'Cause
Nope.
It's not worth it,
Yep.
right? 5 mana to then be able to ping your 2/1 when you play it rather than no.
Because that's normally
No.
a turn 5 or 6 play.
No.
Is that 2/1 drop?
This is so fake, dude. Fake as hell.
Also this week, there was a big debacle over WCS points, which I'm just going to throw to you, Dills, because I'm sure you could summarize this way better than I could.
I mean, essentially, so we all talked about the ESL. Did we talk about it? We didn't talk about it. We talked about how it was coming up, but I don't think we talked about what happened, right?
Well, we talked about we talked about the ESL fight.
Yeah,
we had Frodan on the show to talk about ESL.
Okay, so the ESL tournament, everyone who is aware of our show and listens to that was the big tournament where they essentially had these kind of weekly qualifying events where if you won, you kind of qualified into this big final tournament, and other people who got like second place could come back the next week and try to qualify again, all this stuff. It was like a whole long series. And they started this series before the whole BlizzCon points thing had been announced and the official rules were posted anywhere and all this stuff. Blizzard decided to hand out points to Silent Storm. I believe Silent Storm, Chalky, I think it was like top 4 or something like that got the points.
Delay and Dark Onyx are the other two.
So all these guys got points. For a tournament that was essentially started before they ever announced this and didn't qualify all the way for the official rules that Blizzard had put down, which meant like there was a few things like 50% of the field had to come from qualifying fields, so they had to be kind of open to everybody. It couldn't be all invitational. And this ESL tournament was, while they did have some qualifying spots, was definitely not what you would call an open tournament. There was a couple of qualifying spots here and there, but the road to getting into that tournament was incredibly difficult for qualifiers. And so essentially they gave these guys points without actually following their own rules. There was a post by a blue in the... Do we have a link to that? Is that the third link?
Yep.
Yeah, it was Worthen, which I believe that's Robert Wing, right?
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
So he comes forward and he says, because he's answering someone who says, Legendary Series began before the point system was officially released. 29 players were invited, 18 directly qualified. The tricky part is the other 17 spots were winners return, which means you could call them qualifying spots. So, somebody had made a bunch of points about why they thought this was all kind of okay and fair. And Worthen says, this guy hit the nail on the head. The total prize pool was 36, putting it over 36K, putting it over the 25K threshold, which 25K plus tournaments get 100 points for the winner, which is a big deal because getting number 1 on the season, is what, 50? It's not even.
Yeah, I think it's 50.
So getting number 1 in an entire season isn't worth as much as winning this tournament, which takes many more games to win to get number 1 for a season. And then it says that while the event began prior to the full point structure being announced, they were working really closely with the ESL, wanted to recognize the achievements that players had made in the Legendary Series, and said they will be more transparent with points-giving events moving forward, including a blog post listing upcoming point-giving events that will be going up in the immediate future. So essentially saying, we get it, we understand the issues here, but we decided to award these points based on the fact that we were working really close with these people. Mm-hmm. I personally disagree with this. I think they should just go, you know what, you're right. We shouldn't have given these guys points. Because this whole thing is kind of funky already, and giving points to a tournament that wasn't pre-listed as one that would give out points just doesn't strike me as a good way to figure out who's going to be invited finally to BlizzCon in the end. Mm-hmm. I don't know what your guys' takes on this are, but I really think Blizzard needs to just make this the most official and no questions can be asked and no doubts can be casted on this tournament. That the guy who wins earned his place there, through qualifying, whatever, season play, all that kind of stuff, and not just got lucky because he got invited to a really cool tournament that Blizzard was a fan of, So I think they kind of screwed up here.
Yeah.
And I think they should just take these points away.
Yeah, the points, they're so important because the top 23 don't even have to play in the last chance qualifier, so they get to skip a stage getting to BlizzCon. And it just, you get so many points for winning these 25K plus tournaments. And in some cases, that might mean winning 4 matches versus people grinding the ladder. I don't know. I think Although I agree with awarding points for all of the things that Blizzard is awarding points for, I think maybe they've got the balance of points a little bit mixed up. And then especially when you see things like this happen, just kind of like, well, like somebody would have to get to number 1 for 2 seasons to get the same amount of points, and people didn't even know that they would be competing for points. The whole thing is really sketchy.
Like if you'd known you could have gotten 100 points for this, maybe you would have played in more of these qualifiers to try to get into this tournament rather than spending all your time on ladder.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of stuff that I think screws with some of these players who are making a big effort to get into this big tournament.
Yeah. And I think for me, at least, calling the returning winners as like counting them as qualifiers, even though in some cases they were
They were
invited players
initially. Yeah.
Yeah. So that to me, I think is really the biggest problem with this is counting invited players as qualifiers because they won. And I'm not saying it was easy to win or anything like that, but I just think that it's just sketchy.
I think that they were invited previously and they won and they're still in the tournament as a result, that should still count. I just think, well, let me put it this way. I agree with everything both of you just said with the situation as it stands, and that's exactly how it played out. So I agree with you. If Blizzard had been more transparent from the get-go, I think I would have sided with them.
I think if they had said from the beginning, like when they posted the original thing, that we're aware that the ESL Legendary Series has already begun and we've already decided that we're awarding points for that, fine. But they didn't do that. And then they came out later and suddenly awarded points. And people were like, yo, what? We didn't know these were
there wasn't even any kind of like announcement, really. It was like some dude on Reddit that did the math.
Yeah. Just suddenly these guys had a lot of points and they were in the lead because of this. And and a lot of players who don't get invites and stuff but consider themselves really strong Hearthstone players and want to get into this BlizzCon tournament, which is a really big deal, lots of money. Well, we don't know BlizzCon, but World Championship tournament. To them, their only real option is grinding the ladder, right? And then to find out that, well, now I'm 2 seasons behind already on a tournament I didn't even know was going to award these points. So there's definitely, I think, a legitimate gripe with how this whole thing played out. And I think the correct thing to do for Blizzard is to say, that's correct. We shouldn't have done that. We'll take it back. We'll make sure that everything from here on out is on the level. And I know that that's weird to do, to come back and then just say, never mind, we're taking those points back. But I think in this one particular instance, I think it's okay. And I think that's probably what they should do. I'm not really, it doesn't affect me. I'm not trying to top ladder or win big tournaments or anything. But some people are putting a lot of effort into this. And you got to feel for them when they feel like their effort isn't being rewarded while other people are being rewarded for just essentially being well known before. Like people kind of got in on the ground floor early, right? And those people are more well known because of that. So the people who didn't, who are trying to make a name for themselves, it's got to be frustrating. And I feel for those guys. So I hope Blizzard does something more than just kind of this one response and then that's kind of it, because I think it's worth looking into, at least.
Well, and it was also kind of difficult to find Blizzard's actual response. Like it's one comment buried like halfway down the Reddit post.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, a post on the forums or something at least, on their own website. I mean, it's great that they do now outreach and talk in these other public community forums, but
agreed.
It's kind of thing. Back to they just need to be more transparent. This feels like Blizzard of old, which operated and didn't tell us what was going on. We all had to make assumptions, and everything's really wonky as a result. And that's not what our experience with Hearthstone has been like pretty much since the beginning. They've been very open about the game's development and the esports side of things. So,
well, building this as a legitimate esport, I think you're going to need to make some tough decisions. And people in the chat room are saying, "Oh, it would cause a big storm on Reddit if they did give the points back or take the points away." But I don't think so. I think that already happened. Like that, Reddit takes everything and goes to town. If Blizzard came forward and said, "Okay, I think we made a mistake here," which Blizzard has done in the past with lots of things. There's been a ton of things that they've said we're going to do, and then people go crazy and they go, "Okay, you know what? You're right. We're not going to do that." I don't think that they would get. No, it's not. It's not bad to contradict yourself here. People are saying it's bad to contradict. No, Blizzard has done that already. I could count on my. It would take me 2 hands to count the number of times that they've taken stuff back. So they're not a company that's gonna. They're not gonna have a problem by doing this at all.
Right.
There's no way that people go, "Oh, I'm not playing Blizzard games anymore," because they gave or took the points back. Maybe Silent Storm would be kind of pissed, but he'd probably be understanding. He'd probably say, I get it. It's fine.
Yeah. No, I don't. It's weird.
Yeah, the whole thing is just weird. And I just think you're setting up a big tournament that's kind of the end-all, be-all of Hearthstone tournaments, and everything should really feel like it's on the level. And that would be, like, that's the way to go about this, I think.
Yeah.
Any shady business is going to kind of, whoever wins, like let's say Silent Storm wins, people will start saying, well, he got that 100 extra points that he shouldn't have gotten and whatever, and that's going to suck. You don't want any questions about this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, shady is a strong word. I don't think they're intentionally trying to award points to because like some of the rhetoric that you see on the Reddit, people are like implying it's like, oh well, Blizzard likes Silent Storm more than other pro players, so that's why they decided to award points to this so that he has more points. And it's like, no, you're an idiot. You're an absolute. You're just stupid. Stop
Silent
talking.
Storm doesn't win the popularity contest, first of all. So if that was the case, then we'd be finding out that Strife Crow suddenly has 100 points he never earned or something. This is not what happened. It's Silent Storm. It's not somebody who's already super popular. He earned his way into like this recognition by playing really well and all that.
Right. Now they just wanted to legitimize what they thought was a serious competitive tournament.
Big time legitimate tournament.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I get that.
And I
don't think it's shady. I just think it's a mistake.
Right.
Like it's one done with no malice or bad intent. It's just, whoops, we probably shouldn't have done that. Just shouldn't have just given those points out. Should just let that tournament go. The guy who won got money. He's fine. Don't need to give him 100 points. He's fine.
Yep. We've got links to all of this stuff, by the way, in the show notes as usual. So if you want to read up more, if you want to read the obscene amount of comments on this original thread, be my guest.
Fun read, though.
I will see you in a year.
You can just feel the blood boiling when you read some of these comments.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God, you're probably nowhere near qualifying for any of this stuff, but you are so angry right now.
And then you can hear my blood boiling as I'm reading these moronic statements. So, fun stuff. Let's get into this week's strategy, shall we?
Hit it very hard.
Wanna blow something up? Time to pay.
This week's strategy, we've had actually a lot of folks, kind of from the beginning of time, asking us to do something more noob friendly. Bring the newer players in on the show, guide them, show them the way. And actually, TAC Redditor Psychonic asked us to define the curve. So Dills, you kind of decided to just put together a quick and dirty Hearthstone dictionary.
I did him one better. So Psychonic said in a Reddit post that he posted on the TAC subreddit, Psychonic's actually been pretty active on there. So it's cool to see people kind of becoming active on our subreddit. And we really appreciate that because I don't know what we expected from our subreddit, honestly. Like, we thought maybe some people would go on there, have some talk about our latest show or whatever, but people have it's general Hearthstone content is happening there now, and it's pretty sweet. So anybody who doesn't know that we have one, it's just our attack podcast, essentially. So go check it out and become part of the community over there. So anyway, this is essentially what we're going to do is we're going to cover some of the words that we commonly use on this podcast that maybe we haven't discussed what they actually mean, because there's a lot of them. We throw them around as if everybody knows what the hell we're talking about, and that might not be the case.
And this is totally my fault, because when we first started the show for the first probably 20, 25 episodes, like I would stop you guys and I'd be like, okay, wait, what's this mean? And I kind of like lost my noob spirit, I guess. I haven't been.
Well, now you know what now it's mean.
Just, yeah, exactly. It's all my lingo, and I've kind of, lost that. I'm not as in touch with the new player as I used to be. Well, it's also
like we can't stop every single time we say.
No, I know we can't stop every single time, and then we said that at the beginning of the show as well. But I just every once in a while, there's been some new terms that have come up, and we haven't really covered them. Like I know at one point we talked about what aggro was, we talked about what meta was, but then I feel like when we started saying tempo or zoo or all these kind of terms that I knew what they meant, so we just kind of moved forward. So. I apologize, new players.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. But I think it's good to periodically go back and kind of revisit some of this stuff. Make sure people understand what it is that we're referring to. Because, yeah, we do. We use this stuff as if everybody knows what the hell we're talking about. And that's definitely not the case. So Look, we'll probably do this periodically, and what I should probably do is keep track of what we've discussed and whatnot. But anyway, this is the first one. I just threw a bunch of terms in there that I think are probably the most common stuff, and quick and dirty definition, and we can kind of discuss if we think it means something different or whatever. But we'll just go ahead and go through it. So the first one that I've got here is curve. Curve is something thrown around all the time, and people who are new to CCGs and stuff may not understand what the hell that means. So essentially, curve is the mana cost of your cards. So you could talk about the curve of your hand, the curve of your deck. Essentially, it's just the collective mana cost of all your cards, like how many 1-drops, 2-drops, 3-drops, 4-drops, etc. If, let's say, I have a lower curve, that means I have more cards that cost 1, 2, and 3. If I have a higher curve, that means I probably have more cards that cost 5, 6, 7, and 8.
And if I could stop you real quick, just to kind of explain the visual link to that, is because like the rule of thumb we always tell people is you want to have more low drops than high drops because you're guaranteed to have a turn 2 and 3. You're not guaranteed to have a turn 7. So if you actually with paper games, if you laid all your cards on top of each other so you could see them all and in a line by mana cost, it would look like a curve. Your 2-drop stack would be the longest, your 3-drop would be slightly shorter, your 4-drop would be slightly shorter, and you would have this what would look like a curve. And you can see this in Hearthstone when you hover over your deck, and it shows you your curve. It shows you a little bar graph for each mana cost.
And if you see like and you might think like, oh, that means I should have it shaped like a curve. Well, that's not necessarily true. We just use the term curve.
Yes, and you definitely want it going from left to right. A curve going from right to left is probably a very funky deck.
Yeah, like a bell curve means, it's shaped like a bell. It doesn't mean it's, So anyway, curve just means, it's, and like in arena, you generally want, lots of 2s, and they kind of slowly come down towards the end where you have less cards at the end. And that's generally a pretty good curve, right, in arena. And you also have things like curve in your hand. So if my opening hand has 1, 2, 3, and 4, I'm probably in pretty good shape. That means I'm going to have a card I can play on every single turn. That means I'm playing on curve is what people will say. The other way to use on curve is, let's say it's turn 6 and I have a 5-drop and a 6-drop. And if I play the 5-drop, I'm playing off curve. Like I've now wasted a mana crystal. Whereas if I play the 6-drop, I'm playing on curve with my 6-drop. I'm using all of my mana playing the full cost on turn 6, getting the most out of my mana. This does other things too, like allows you to then on turn 7 play the 5-drop and a hero power, stuff like that. So when you hear people use the term on curve, that's kind of what they mean. They mean playing a 5-drop on turn 5, a 6-drop on turn 6, that kind of stuff. So that's an important concept to understand. The next one on here is tempo. Tempo is something that I remember I heard the first time and I was like, what? Like, this isn't music, dude. What are you talking about? But and it's not really used the same way that I would have expected it to be used coming from someone who knew what the word tempo meant in a different world.
I've been trying to find a reason to use the term staccato when it comes to card games.
Yeah. I play like a Leper Gnome on turn 1, staccato, right? Like
that's what you have to end turn really fast and sharply. Every turn has to be the same length and short and quick.
Tempo generally means that it's like you have initiative, right? Like, so if I have the tempo, I have the initiative. It's you can kind of swap those words. It's not 100%, but you kind of can. So if I play a 1-drop on turn 1, I gain tempo. I'm the first guy to play something on turn 1. I have the tempo. Then the opponent, let's say, backstabs it and plays their own whatever. And now they have tempo because they were able to not only kill my creature, but put a creature of their own out. And then generally this kind of swings back and forth throughout the game in most games of Hearthstone. And you can kind of use the term board control to kind of also say like who has tempo. And there's things like tempo plays and value plays. Like clearing your minions and playing my own minions is like a tempo play. Whereas like say prep sprint is not a tempo play. Like I just drew a bunch of cards, but I did not do anything to the board, right? So if your option is to play a piloted shredder on turn 4 or prep sprint, if I play the piloted shredder, that's a tempo play. I'm putting something out on the board. I'm doing stuff. If I prep sprint, I'm just drawing cards, which maybe gives me more power going into the next few turns. But doesn't do anything to the board this turn, and could potentially like make me fall behind as far as tempo is concerned.
I want to give a shout out to the chat room, who apparently are a bunch of real music nerds.
Yeah,
they're trying to coin.
I know. I'm watching this go by, and I'm like,
yeah,
like you all are just melting my little nerd heart. You're just wonderful.
So the opposite of the tempo play, essentially, I think, would be the value play. So like the tempo play would be like clearing the other guy's minion, whereas the value play would be maybe something like playing an Acolyte of Pain and pinging it, where like I'm just making sure that I get to draw at least 2 cards with my Acolyte, but maybe I'm not killing one of your creatures. So it's, there's like getting the most value out of your cards, which essentially means like getting 2 for 1 with them. So you could like say value plays are things like instead of outright trading with something that might be more of a threat. Like let's say I have a 3/2 on board. You have a Knife Juggalo on board and a 1/1. And rather than trade with your Knife Juggalo, I kill the 1/1 with my 3/2, thus leaving me with the 3/1 behind. That might be a mistake, but that's a value type of play. That's like I'm going to try to get the most value as I can out of this creature by actually killing something and then leaving it behind and trying to kill something else later with it.
Yeah, you're also
might not be the best play, but it's the value play.
Yeah, you're also bringing up value versus control in that scenario you just mentioned.
Sorry, explain.
Well, I'm just thinking, if you're trying to control that board, you want that juggler dead.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, if I'm trying to control the board, I would probably just kill the Juggalo because he gives the most potential for then killing more of my creatures later. It's more of a threat.
And the 3/1 that you left behind, and now they still have a 3/2 juggler.
Yeah. And Mecca in the chat says a good analogy, too, is people use the word greedy. Like that's a greedy play. Like I'm trying to get every ounce of value I can out of my cards. I'm playing very greedy. Players like Trump are known for a greedier style.
Yep.
He will always try to get the most out of each of his cards. Whereas there will be a lot of players who just play for just straight tempo. I'll trade as long as it means I get my guys out on the board and your guys are gone, and that means I'm now able to go face and stuff like that. So that's kind of the difference there. Like drawing cards and stuff like that are kind of associated with value plays.
Yep.
Or let's say you have 3 mana and I could play Harvest Golem, or I could play an Arcane Intellect. It's like one is a tempo play and one is like a value play. Like I need to draw into some like cooler stuff for later, but I'm doing nothing to the board right now. So
yep.
All right, the meta. Everybody talks about the meta all the time.
We talk about it every damn week.
Every single week.
I'm very happy
all the friggin' time.
Very happy to see the meta report living on Tempo Storm, by the way.
Yeah, Hype did a great job with it.
Yeah.
So essentially what the meta means is it's just kind of what cards and decks are popular and likely to be played by your opponents. There's different meta for Constructed, Arena, and Tournaments, and if we eventually have other formats, there'll be different meta games for each of those as well. But it really just means kind of an understanding of what you're likely to see from your opponents and what cards you should put into your deck to counter what you're likely to see. Pretty simple, right? Is there anything else I'm missing about that?
Yeah, I kind of just like, how do I explain meta to people? I explain it as like the accepted understanding of the game state.
Sure. Yeah, like you could say things like Big Game Hunter's in the meta right now because Dr. Boom's in the meta right now.
Yep.
That kind of stuff. So,
Mind Control tech also.
Yeah, because it's just like Harrison Jones is in the meta right now. Black Knight kind of out of the meta right now. Like that, it's just people will use that term kind of for a lot of things.
You'll hear us say that a lot, actually. Yeah. The 2 things you just said.
Yeah, because those are the swingy cards. Those are So understanding what is the current state of the metagame is really important if you're actually trying to play a game competitively. And again, it changes in every type of format you play. Like if you're playing Arena, it's completely different. I mean, there's some cards that you will just never ever see in Constructed that are just really good in Arena. Ogres, like those, come on. Boulder Fist Ogre, you never see that crap in Constructed, but that's a damn good 6-drop in Arena. So that's like it's important to know in the format you're playing what the current state of the metagame is.
Yep.
All right, aggro. This is these 3 are kind of simple, but we'll go over them just in case. Aggro is pretty much short for aggressive. It just means a deck that's just trying to kill you before you get a chance to respond to what they're doing. So lots of 1-drops, 2-drops. direct damage, bursting cards, things like that. A lot of times these decks have to sacrifice late game card draw, things like that, because they just need to play something that's a threat every turn. They need to be doing damage every turn. So Hunter is like the classic aggro deck right now in Hearthstone. The Face Hunter deck. That would be like the classic aggro deck. No card draw whatsoever. Just every card gets thrown on the table, has charge, goes to the face. However, you always sacrifice something to be able to do this, and generally you sacrifice the kind of survivability of your minions and the card draw. So
yeah, you sacrifice usually having a late game plan.
Yes, you have no late game plan. If it gets to the late game, your plan is I probably lost. That's just kind of how it works. So you're just trying to beat the opponent before they get a chance to kind of set up defense and stop what your plan is. Which it can just straight up work. And aggro decks are probably always going to exist.
Yeah,
it's actually kind of funny because in Magic it's kind of the reverse, where aggro just doesn't have as many tools, and because of the blocking system and everything, it's a bit tougher to really play aggressive and have it be consistent. Whereas Hearthstone, I think Hearthstone's just always going to be here. Just if you hate aggro, I'm sorry. It's just always going to be here.
And then there's its counterpart.
On the other hand, sorry, go ahead.
I said, and then there's its complete opposite.
Yes, then there's its complete opposite, Control. This is a deck that's basically built around late game threats and card draw and removal. So you have like Control Paladin will have really, really big cards and lots of healing, and lots of cards that will just kind of make it outlast you to the point where you can flip
Consecrate.
the board. Yeah, Quality Consecrate. Wipe the board, reset, and then suddenly they have the advantage because now you've cleared the board, and now their big game threats, like their big late game threats, are just so much more powerful than you dropping 4 2-drops or whatever it might be on the next turn. Priest is a very control deck. Control Warrior. It features all these big cards like Alexstrasza, Ragnaros, Sneed's Old Shredder, KT, all these cards like that, because essentially like all the early game that they have is just trying to remove your stuff. They don't really care about putting threats on the board until the end of the game. Those decks are just trying to win at that point. So they're very slow. Games will last a long time, but they're both completely viable ways to play the game. Then you got mid-range. And mid-range is a little tricky because mid-range is kind of like aggro and control at the same time, right? Gary, you played the mid-range Paladin a lot.
Yeah.
That has some late-game cards, but it also has a ton of early-game cards.
Yep. It has an opening curve that looks like Zoolock for Paladin.
Yeah. And essentially, it's like the advantage of mid-range is that you can kind of adapt your playstyle based on what you think the other guy is playing.
Yep.
So you can play a control game versus an aggro deck, and you can play an aggro game versus a control deck, and you can actually kind of beat everything if you get the right draw.
Yeah, there are exceptions to the rules with both aggro and control where there will be scenarios where you're just like, oh, in this particular matchup, I'm actually more aggressive than control with my control deck, or vice versa with an aggro deck. But with mid range, there is a big switch, and you get to flip it every game. It's like, well, am I the beatdown or am I controlling?
And also depends on what you draw, because you can sometimes draw to a very control-y style, and that's you just have to play that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you have the ability to flip that switch, whereas like an aggro deck does not. An aggro deck cannot decide, okay, you know what I should do? I should start trading. You're just going to lose if you do that. So, you just don't have that kind of ability to decide, the versatility to kind of change what you're doing mid-game. Yeah. So
if you're playing
mid-range is fun.
And if you're playing a mid-range deck, you may have so many scenarios in a row where you draw a slow starting hand that you start whittling more and more away at your late drops, and it slowly just morphs into an aggressive deck.
Yeah,
that happened to me with my mid-range pally at one point.
Yeah, you just start throwing stuff out, and you're like, well,
it's like, if I start one more game with a piloted Sky Golem, I'm gonna scream.
But like, think about the mid-range hunter that currently out there. That deck oftentimes ends up playing very aggressively, just because the nature of the deck is if I do end up with board control, it is now time to become the aggressive deck. So sometimes people play against it and they think that they're playing an aggro deck, but they're not. They're playing a mid-range deck. It's got essentially a drop on every turn, and it can curve out really well, and it can kind of do both. So
yeah.
Then you got combo decks. And we're not going to discuss. There's tempo decks as well, but we don't want to confuse everybody.
Do we really need to
That could get
define
really
combo?
confusing.
Do we have to define combo?
Well, the combo deck I think we have to define, because the combo deck is kind of a control deck built around a combo that ends the game, which is different than a control deck that's built around controlling and then just dropping like Ragnaros and hoping that it sticks for a couple turns.
Yeah, Druid's
it's a different thing.
Druid's probably the most notable example at
Druid
the
and
moment.
Oil Rogue are the
Yep.
current two kings of the combo deck, I think. Because Oil Rogue has gigantic bursty turns and plays a very controlling style early on in the game. So essentially what it means is it just means it has a game-ending combination of cards. And everybody remembers Miracle Rogue, Leroy Shadowstep, Leroy Shadowstep, Leroy. That's a combo. And you usually have a lot of card draw and a lot of ways to control the board. And you draw through your whole deck until you get your combo, and then you kill them with your combo. So Druid is the most obvious because Force of Nature, Savage Roar. That's a combo. That does 14 damage plus whatever you got on board. And yeah, you just control, and finish them off. So pretty simple.
Yep.
Sweepers or board wipes. These are just AoE
Wrath
spells.
effects.
What's that?
Or Wrath effects.
Or Wrath effects. You're right. That's the other.
Don't hear that
Sure.
thrown around
You
as
don't hear that in
much.
Hearthstone.
No, I was like,
nowadays.
I don't think I've ever heard
When-
that before.
when-
Wrath
when-
effect?
When Hearthstone first launched, it was getting thrown around a lot. Maybe I saw it more because I was playing a lot of Shaman. I was reading nothing but Shaman guides, and they were like, Lightning Storm, it's a Wrath effect. A Wrath effect is something that deals damage to the entire board.
Yeah, but so sweeper, board wipe, all those things.
Yeah.
They're all kind of similar.
Swipe,
And
consecrate.
there's lots of different versions of this, but essentially what it means is I'm killing a bunch of stuff at one time. So Flame Strike, Hellfire, Consecration, Brawl counts as well. That's kind of the Warriors version of this. And they kind of do it in a different way, but they all achieve the same type of thing, which is kill all your stuff all at one time.
Deathwing.
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 There you go.
Including your own hand.
That's a sweeper. Yeah.
Yeah.
That sweeps your hand away at the same time. All right, the mulligan. This is an interesting one because it's not really. It's a weird term, man. But this is, I guess, does this come from Magic? Or does this come from before Magic? I'm not sure.
As far as card games, I'm sure it comes from Magic.
Okay. I mean, it makes a lot more sense in Magic because in Magic, I literally say, I don't want this hand. Give me a new hand.
Yeah.
Whereas in Hearthstone, you say, I don't want this card in this hand.
Give me a new card. And then Hearthstone goes, nah, you can have the same card back.
Yeah. Mulligan is a weird term for this, but whatever. It is what it is. We're sticking with it. We're not going to change it up at this point. But essentially, it just means the opening phase where you decide what cards you're keeping or throwing back. A lot of people talk about how it's totally random. You can't mulligan for a card. Well, you can. You don't guarantee you get the card, but what you're doing is just giving yourself the best possible chance to get that card. So you'll hear a lot of pros say, oh, with this deck, mulligan for backstab, deadly poison, SI7 agent. It doesn't mean that they're like, okay, Hearthstone, these are the 3 cards I want. What they just mean is just saying like, if it's not that, I throw it back.
That's what you
And I
want
hope
in
that
your starting hand. Yeah, that's what you're fishing for.
Yeah, and even though you can't technically say you can get exactly that, you give yourself the best possible chance. That's all you can really do in card games.
You have a better chance of getting it if you mulligan a card that is not that card than keeping that card.
Yes, absolutely. You do. Also, like things like let's say it's Wild Growth and Druid. Like sometimes you'll throw out Wraths even though they're 2 mana cost cards because I just need that card. Like that's the only card I really want. So I'm gonna throw everything away unless it's that every single time because getting that card is so damn important to the
Okay, so hold on. Chat room, we're aware mulligan is from golf.
Oh yeah,
That was
we're
not
aware.
the question.
Yeah. I'm saying what's its origin in card games?
Calm down.
Come on now. I know that it's from golf. And if you don't know about it in golf, it just means I took a bad shot and I'm like, you know what? Nah, I didn't. I'm going to take another shot.
Do
Throw
over.
that shot out. Yeah, do over.
It's always allowed, especially in major tournaments.
All right, and the final thing we'll talk about is top deck. Top deck is literally just that. It's the card that came off the top of the deck. And every
Or in
turn you get
Hearthstone,
one.
the side of the deck, because for some reason the decks are sideways and it drives
Yeah,
me
we should
crazy.
start calling it side decking. I got side decked terribly, man. It was crazy. But yeah, it just essentially means like when you start your turn, you take a card off the top of the deck. If it's the card that exactly you needed, you got top decked. And people say it all the time, like it's some terrible thing that happened to them. It's kind of like a bad beat story in poker. It's just like, all right, buddy. Yeah, it's fine. It's like, I got top decked. Oh, it's the worst thing. It's, well, he only had 30 cards. Bound to pick one of them, and I'm sorry, man. That's what happens, He picked
I got top deck so bad. Dude, it was the last card in his deck. Yeah, but I got top deck so bad.
Yeah, but I can't believe he top decked on card 30. But yeah, it's people bemoan the top deck all the time.
He played tracking. He was a mage.
But it's one of those things people love to talk about. It's like, oh, that's the top deck card. That's all it means when they're talking about it. But I've heard people say, what the hell are you talking about?
Well, probably the most commonly place you're going to hear this is like when you're watching a tournament, commentators may go, he is now top decking. It means the player's in a position where he will not win unless he top decks an answer.
So there's a couple versions of this. There's like in arena, oftentimes you get down to these top deck battles where both players are out of cards.
Yeah, you're at parity. No cards in hand, draw a card, play the card.
And essentially you draw, and if you draw better cards than the other guy, you will win the game at that point. But so it's used in several different ways, but it always means the same thing essentially, which is the card you pulled off the top of the deck. So
yep.
All right, so that's it. We'll talk about more of these at some point in the future because there are plenty more. But I think these are the kind of the basic ones, and hopefully that was useful to some players. And I know we have a lot of people listening to the show who are maybe not the most serious of players who don't go and Google everything and read up on every single term. So if this was helpful to you, let us know that. And if it wasn't helpful and this sucked, tell us and maybe we won't do it again. But some people were asking for it. And
I'm sure it helped some people.
Yeah, and I'm going to post everything over on Reddit. So if you guys didn't catch something or aren't clear on something, I'm going to post all of Dills' definitions over there. And then you guys can also throw other terms that you want us to cover at a later date on our subreddit.
Awesome. Perfect. Well, we're going to wrap the show up with one crazy game story and one email. Let's do it.
Is the whole world gone crazy?
You're in trouble now.
You got it!
You can send your crazy game stories to tacpodcast@gmail.com. Dills, what does Sebastian have for us today?
Oh my God. Hold on. I got to go up. I went down because, I was like, I just talked a lot. I probably don't have to talk again for a while.
Get up.
All right, here we go. Sebastian says, Dear Angry Chickens, thank you for that awesome show. Which one, Sebastian? Which awesome show? All of them? That one? Which one?
All of them.
Okay.
That awesome show being The Angry Chicken.
I have listened to it since one of the first episodes. Unfortunately, it's 4 a.m. in Germany when your show is live, so I have to wait for it on the iTunes store. I was very happy when Willie mentioned my German iTunes review. Oh, yeah.
Woo!
I've stopped doing that because I started running it like I couldn't find anymore. I was like spending a lot of time going through different countries' iTunes stores, and it wasn't working out well. So, but I'm glad I got to yours, buddy. All right, here is my crazy game story. I played Face Hunter a few times when one match was very close. I didn't have enough burst, so I could only bring my opponent to 2 life while I'm at 5. I dropped my last card, a leper gnome, on the board and passed my turn. The board was under his control, and one of his minions was the Knife Juggalo. I normally don't concede, only if someone BMs me, by playing all his cards instead of finishing him off. In this game, my opponent could have attacked me with his minions for more than 5, but instead, he decided to play his minions from his hand first. I think I see where this is going. Before I realized what happened, his Knife Juggalo hit my leper gnome, which took my opponent's last 2 lives. Since then, I hope for misplays at the last second of the game. All of you, please stay awesome. This is one of my favorite things ever when somebody tries to BM me and totally screws it up. It's awesome.
I think we've all done it too. Maybe not Jocelyn because she's Canadian, but definitely I have. That's for damn sure.
The BMs are fun, but you really got to be careful if you're gonna pull the BMs out. Like I've done things like what was the I AoE'd a warrior who had an armor smith down one time and then gave him a bunch of armor back and it was like, oh crap, now I don't have enough damage to kill them. Things like that. So yeah.
I mean, I would really like to thank everybody who BMs and screws it up, especially those of you who stream, because I'm a big fan of Trollden's videos and you give that man so much content.
Yeah, the BM mistakes, that's the best way.
Delightful stuff. Again, send in those stories to tacpodcast@gmail.com and also the emails, which we will take now.
Hello?
Hello, it's me.
Hello.
Just quickly, do you get my message?
Yep.
Oh.
Hello, brother.
Our email today comes to us from listener Mark, who writes, "Hail and well met, you frenzied, furious fowl. Been loving the show for a long time now. Thanks so much for all you do. It's really fun." Well, you're welcome, Mark. As much as I love the game, being a full-time theater professor, professional actor, director, and choreographer of stage combat doesn't leave me a great deal of time to read the blogs and keep up with the meta, etc. Is all this true, Mark? I think you left out model. You left out model because I'm pretty sure I've seen you modeling the terrible underwear that I wear. Anyway, Mark continues. He says, "So when on 2 episodes, Tack discussed what happened with MagicAmy, it was a bit like hanging with your favorite peeps but left out of the conversation because you never actually said what had happened. For the future, dropping a 15 to 30 second second recap would be so appreciated by those of us with the passion but not the time to stay on the cutting edge of our favorite game. Also, I looked at Dank Whispers after it was mentioned on the show because I had thrown together a fun druid deck of my own a couple weeks previous. I was shocked by the similarity of theme between the decks, even though many of the cards are different. I'm sure my stack is far inferior, as in all things, I bow to the masters. Keep on clucking." Mark, you weren't alone. A lot of people commented on the fact that we really should have summed up the MagicAmy bit.
We had people say that in the YouTube video as well, but I think it was a little bit weird because we had Frodan there, sitting there.
I agree, and that's probably the reason I didn't even think about it, because usually I'm the dude that types in like the 3 sentences that I read before we discuss the story, and for whatever that day it was a hectic day. We were trying to schedule the interview with Frodan, and I'll just say I dropped the ball. I didn't put in a summary. I apologize. So
I think the point is well taken that when we're discussing something like this, having some sort of a summary would be best for people who don't understand what the situation was. However, in this case, I'll say a few things. The situation was incredibly complicated. This wasn't going to take 15 and 30 second recap if we were going to really fill you in on everything that was going on here. And the other thing too was Frodan was there, so we're just going to sit there and be like, "So Frodan, just chill for a second," but we just go over everything that happened that you're already aware of. We kind of had a little bit of a, which way do we go with this? Do we make our guest sit here while we recap all the things that he just went through? Or do we, I don't know. So it was kind of like, do we hold our listeners' hands more than we think we need to, or do we just do it anyway? And we kind of give you guys sometimes the benefit of the doubt that you're going to look some of this stuff up, and maybe that's not always the best thing to do. So we appreciate that. But that time we just didn't. We made a decision not to.
I just feel like I forgot.
Well, I think it was a different type of episode because we did have the interview at the same time, and he was so personally involved with everything that was going on. So
that's the other thing too. I get this with a lot of the shows that I do, where people want us to discuss all of the ins and outs of something that we're going to then talk about. And I struggle with exactly what the best way to do this is. And obviously, like a short recap doesn't often take much time, but sometimes you can do that a little too much. So, but point well taken.
Yeah. Well, our whole strategy of this section today kind of, we talked about, when is too much. Is that, like we said, we can't stop every single time we say tempo, aggro, etc., and define what those terms mean. At some point, we kind of put it on the listeners to keep up to some extent. But that doesn't mean that we can't.
There's a lot of things like this, though, in entertainment. Like, if you were watching a sports highlight show and every time they went, a three-pointer is when the guy stands behind this arc line. Or do you just want him to say, like, boom, he hits another tray from the top of the key?
Well, you bring up a really good point, actually, because this is something that it comes up whenever I'm watching esports on the TV in the living room, and Katie or guests are subjected to something that they may not be as familiar with as I, or anytime I watch a traditional sport.
Garrett does not sport.
No. If the Yankees make the playoffs, or if the Giants make the playoffs, I'll watch it. Giants being football. That's the only time you'll see me start to give a crap. Point
well taken. But understand sometimes we won't, and you may have to do a Google search.
Yeah, and if Katie's listening to this and she's wondering why I don't say I'd get excited if the Cubs or the Bears made the playoffs, it's because they need to make the playoffs before I can get excited, Katie.
Oh, shots fired.
Sorry.
Sick burn.
Actually, I hear good things about the Cubs this year. I would be stoked if they made it that far. I'd be really stoked. So there's that. Thanks for your info, Mark. No, you're absolutely not alone. So. I also, your run-on list of the things that you do, I want proof, sir. I want proof. Choreographer of stage combat. Teach me how to lightsaber.
I think he should send us a picture of him doing all of these things all at one time.
It'd be like the one-man band.
Yeah. It's like standing on his professorial desk, acting, directing, and
he has like the
Macbeth
Macbeth skull in one hand, and he's like gesturing like he's saying a line, and he's like got a gun in the other, and I don't know.
That would be sweet. I just want that picture just for my own personal collection.
Awesome. Well, that's gonna do it for this week's episode. Man, there was a lot of covered this week. As always, have to thank our patrons over at patreon.com/TAC. You guys keep the show going. Thank you so much for your support. If you become a TAC patron, you get access to the TAC Skype account for the patron call-in episodes, as well as the after show video. So thank you very much. We don't have a date for the next hangout yet. We'll discuss that. We'll post it up pretty soon. And also this week we wanted to thank the following patrons. Thank you to Mystic Spider, Shaquille J, Eric C, Callum C, and Pierce E. Thank you all very much for supporting the Angry Chicken. And if you're leaving us reviews in the iTunes store, we want to thank you as well. So thank you to Matchup, Mystic Spider. Oh man, I didn't even notice. You're getting double thanked this week, and Xander Hyken. Thank you very much for your iTunes reviews. And I need to read something funny. Okay, Xander Hyken said "clucking right." I was trying to pick out something funny. So the Angry Chicken, as always, is produced by amove.tv and frogpants.com. All of our past live shows can be found over at youtube.com/starcastshow. Get our t-shirt over on slashloot.com, SLASH loot.com. Follow us on Twitter at TAC Podcast. Catch us live every Monday night at 10 p.m. Eastern right here on twitch.tv/amovetv or on alphageekradio.com. And big thanks to Brian Griffith, the musician who made our intro music. Check him out over at briangriffithmusic.com. Jocelyn, where can folks find you when you're not being the most furious of fellows?
Right here on AMove TV every Friday night for the Gamers In. That is at 8:30 Eastern. We also do Gamers In game night every Thursday night, and that's over on my Twitch channel, which is GIS Gamers. You can follow me there, and I tweet out everything I do over on Twitter at GIS Gamer.
Awesome. And Dills, what about you?
Find me Friday mornings on the Instance. That's at 9 a.m. Pacific time.
You say that like you really wish your alarm wouldn't go off then.
Yeah, something, you know. It's funny that the last one, everyone was on video, and I was like, all right, I guess I'll be on video, but I'm still crusty-eyed and just drinking my coffee. I'm just trying to hold it together, and it's, it's the afternoon or the evening for Terpster and Patrick, so
yeah,
they look all coiffed and perfect.
Yeah, I have to.
Oh, yeah, those guys coif every day. You didn't know that?
I have to get up. I have to get up early this Friday to do a new Overwatchers with Patrick. So I feel your pain.
Nice. There's new stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, pretty sweet. Okay, so the Instance, the Torchcast is back. 100 Pence is hurt. Sucks.
Aww.
Really hurt my heart to find out about that. But he'll be back. So Torchcast, torchcast.com. That's a podcast about the San Francisco Giants. And streaming the Hearthstones, streaming all kinds of stuff. We've been doing more like Heroes of the Storm, and I think I'm going to try to start streaming some kind of old school like N64, Super Nintendo, NES games and stuff once I get that all kind of figured out with the emulators and stuff. So look forward to that if that's something that sounds fun to you. I want to thank everybody who was in the stream the other night because like we actually reached a donation goal, which I didn't see coming at all. So we're going to get a new chair pretty soon, which is great because this chair hurts me physically.
That's awesome, dude. I knew you were doing the fundraiser for the chair, so you hit it?
Yeah, we got there in like one night.
What kind of chair are you getting?
It's one of those Maxnomic chairs. It's like the cheapest version of those, but
still very nice.
They're nice as hell, apparently, and I need something because like I see, you guys don't even realize. Hold on, I have a cushion on this chair because this chair sucks so much.
Is that like a boat cushion? What is that?
I have a butt cushion.
Oh my god!
Because my butt would literally I wouldn't have a butt anymore if I didn't have this cushion. My chair sucks.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and thanks to the very, very kind people who were in my stream. We had a really great night too. It was super fun. Played a lot of games, and we got to see whatchamacallit, Mimiron's head turn into a Voltron, which was insane.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And folks, if
I
you're
won't
not,
spoil it. I think the VOD's still up if anybody wants to see it.
You guys are missing out if you're not watching Dills' stream.
But yeah, so that's Willie Dills SF on Twitch. So check that out.
Carpe Fun. That's what you should title your stream.
Yeah, my stream nowadays is there is no try hard going on anymore. We are just playing the fun decks, and we're just gonna have a blast.
Delightful. Well, folks can find me on Twitter at GarrettArt, nomoonart.com for my graphic design work, Into the Nexus from our Heroes of the Storm podcast, or as I mentioned at the top of the show, go to tinyurl.com/annoyoverlay, and you can get yourself a Hearthstone overlay with Annoyotron, and if you want, you can chip in for my trip to Nerdtacular. I did a GoFundMe thing, which I've never done before, so I'm not sure how this thing is going to work out, but yeah.
It's a cool overlay, man. Anybody who wants to try to stream some Hearthstone, this would be this is way better than anything you're just gonna find out there with a Google search.
Your overlay, I mean, you really do need to bring some silliness to your Twitch stream anyway. Absolutely. So why not use the Annoyotron? At one point, I had confetti like all over the screen. I was like, nah, too much. Too much. People need to see what's going on.
No way! I want the confetti version.
Jocelyn, I will send you a variant, a Jocelyn variant. So go check that out. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, DogHouseSystems.com. The code TAC. Actually, new thing. It'll get you a free solid state hard drive for your rig. And I did the same thing on freaking Into the Nexus. I forgot to make note of the size. I'm pretty sure it's 150 gigabytes. As I'm frantically searching.
Probably. I think that's the size of the one that's in mine.
Yeah, no, it's 120. I'm going to write this in the notes right now. 120 gigs. 120 gigabyte solid state drive, free upgrade, and you directly support the Angry Chicken in the process. So go check out DogHouseSystems.com. We thank them for their support. We thank you all for listening, and we will see you next week for episode 72 of the Angry Chicken. And then I just realized I was also supposed to mention that some people were probably wondering where the art director of Hearthstone was tonight, and I forgot to mention at the top of the show. He is sick. He will be on the show in 2 weeks' time. But we'll see you next week for episode 72. Job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.
Yes!